Alright, what is up guys? We are back here again. Gonna give you a quick little recap of the trades that I took, trades that I failed at, and yep. So let's get straight into it. The first trade I want to go ahead and talk about is MU. Now, I came into the day, I actually sent a message to a guy that I'm kind of helping trade, and I sent him a message that any big flush off the gate on MU, I want to be long it. I think that this name is at a key area, and as you can see, I'll show a 1 hour chart here. Actually, the 4 hour does it better justice. Look at this kind of top, you know, up here, this top right here. We finally broke through. We made it a higher low, broke out. Now we're retesting that same area. If we pull up a daily chart, you'll notice here, look at top, 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 you know, kind of the higher low. Now we're back at that key area. If we end up going under this area, you know, we're going to be trapped in a channel on MU. So the goal is to hopefully stay above this area. But anyways, let's talk about the day trade that I did go ahead and take on it, which was actually a nothing burger on it. I got into some calls right over here on this candle as soon as it turned green from this bottoming wick. And then I ended up adding a little bit in this candle. We got a nice little pop over VWAP, and I started to notice the tape a bit heavier than expected. So I basically ended up cutting this trade essentially basically flat when we got back over to previous day lows or pre-market lows right here. I basically just cut it kind of flat. I was like, listen, this should have, what I wanted to see off the gate was a flush out and an instant like reclaim. Now we ended up getting the move, right, that I kind of was looking for. I wanted something like this. But I just wasn't comfortable with how relatively weak MU was looking versus the NASDAQ. I mean, look how strong NQ is here. Like, look at ES. I mean, when you look at other semi names like AVGO, you know, this one's all-time highs. When you look at AMD's weak, but when you look at NVIDIA, you know, NVIDIA ripping. We can pull up AMD. AMD was relatively weak, which is why I didn't touch it. I mean, look at this shit show that's happening. ASML, let's pull up ASML. ASML even was stronger, and ASML had, you know, a bad reaction to earnings yesterday. So even that was acting relatively strong versus MU. So I just cut that for a flat trade. I think I ended up losing a little bit of money due to commissions. So that was that trade. Then I got into an AVGO short. I know, right? Like, I shorted AVGO here. I actually made money on this short, too, by the way. So, I ended up shorting AVGO off of an exhaustion move on this 5-minute candle. It looked like it just had exhausted itself out. I got in on this pop right here. And I faded it basically down here to VWAP, and then I covered because I knew this name was relatively strong. I just wanted to play a quick exhaustion. As well as, I'm fully aware that because this name, because of the way that it did fade, it literally just made a bull flag. I mean, this is just a bull flag, basically. You know, the PO, boom, flag, boom, bull flag. So, the bad thing is I didn't get to long this name. You know, the proper thing was to long, but I ended up shorting it versus this flush out, covered into this move here. Pull up ARM. This is my ARM trade I took. ARM was a beautiful setup for me. So, I longed it. We basically had the same kind of setup, right? We have that flag. AVGO was obviously the better flag. But we've kind of have that little flag here. Let me go ahead and bring it like this. You know, we get that PO, then the flush out. I mean, and there was no bid here, right? There was no pop. So I knew that there was going to be, I didn't know, but high chances there was going to be a pop. So basically, this flushes out all the way back to pre-market highs. We go under, so anybody who was using this as a guide is now under. Probably stop them out. My risk was going to be under VWAP, just slightly under, just in case we get a quick wash and then a rebid. So we ended up holding. I got in here literally, and we got an immediate swipe up, and I got out of my position on ARM on this candle right here. Clean little trade off the long. Unfortunately, I should have taken AVGO. Yet again, AVGO was a much cleaner, you know, bull flag, and it held really, really good. I think NVIDIA kind of did the same thing around the same time frame. Actually, it didn't. It just was a slow grind up. I mean, just a slow grind. So, that was that. Let's pull up Meta, because Meta was another trade I did go ahead and take here today. I was utilizing previous day lows and a macro demand level that I do have. Look at this, you know, these topping wicks here, here. Pull up a 4 hour, probably is a little bit cleaner. Pull up a 4 hour. You start noticing like these little wicks here, and we're kind of at the body of these candles. And also we went sub 700. I was assuming that, hey, you know, it's monthly the monthlies expired this Friday. So I was assuming it's not going to go ahead and just let go of 700 completely yet. It's probably going to wait for Friday, or it'll just catch a really sick rebid off of 700. So we got a nice flush out. We got a beautiful reclaim. Obviously, I always tell you guys to draw these lines. So if you just draw this line right here, it obviously is showing you that, hey, we're going to start trying to stay above this 700 or this previous day low level. I got in on the reclaim right here. Got an immediate favorable move and covered right here. Just above VWAP. Because I was like, listen, we have some of these lines here. I don't know how far this thing's going to be willing to go. It did get above VWAP, so just covered. This was a high probability setup. You know, it was a scout versus, you know, holding to see if we get above previous day's close into that daily or that pre-market high or pre-market low. Light blue is pre-market low. So I didn't just want to go ahead and start fighting this thing. It was showing relative weakness. The only thing that was holding it up was the fact that there was macro demand here. And when you look at the price action of Meta versus NQ yet again, you can see that there's clear weakness within the name. So I don't want to sit there and long weakness, guys. I will scalp weakness, but I'm not going to hold a long-term trade where the market's as strong as it is and this name is showing weakness. You know, if this is holding a macro demand level, so be it, but I'm going to be covering into strength, or I'm going to be selling into strength. I don't want to hold something because you never know when that tide shifts if this goes lower due to the strength behind NQ. Because if NQ starts getting weak, Meta's going to get weak 3 times as fast because it is showing relative weakness. You know, this is red while NQ is up 0.76%. If anything, if you wanted to long anything, you want to be long like AVGO. You wanted to be long Microsoft on the day. You know, you want to be long relatively strong names. What else is strong out there? Google. It's still weaker than NQ, but, you know, the price action showing you that there's relative strength behind it. What else is strong? There was Microsoft. TSM was based off of earnings. PLTR, a little bit of relative strength here. So, you know, holding its previous day highs, you can get in basically anywhere here, risking previous day highs as the guide, and you get a nice little exponential move in your favor. So that's what you want to look for when you're looking for relative weakness, relative strength. And let's say you are looking for some weakness, you know, I guess Tesla right now is showing some relative weakness versus the market here, but we are kind of entering a little supply turn demand. So I wouldn't be interested in just shorting this name. You know, monthly expiration is tomorrow. So we'll see how this wants to react. You know, there's a 200 SMA here. You know, a bunch of the SMAs are around this area. If I pull up a daily chart, you'll see that, you know, we have the, that's the daily 10. So we have like the 20 that's here. We have the 50 that's here. The 200s right here. The 20s here. I mean, there's a lot of moving averages, a lot of daily moving averages within this range. What else was there? That looked like that was basically it here for today. Now, we are kind of in a supply area here on ES. I don't think we've crushed over all-time highs here on ES yet. Nope, we're not there yet. And tomorrow is the monthlies. You know, the monthly for option contracts do expire tomorrow. So we'll see how ES and SPY and all of these things want to move, you know, into that. Like, who's to say that this doesn't just revert, you know, all the way back down and kind of have a change of tape? Or who's to say that this doesn't just start blasting through all-time highs tomorrow, you know, based on the monthlies? So that's about it, man. Those were all the trades I did take today. I ended up making about 2% on my portfolio yet again. It's been just a lot of 2% days. Eventually, I'm going to have an A+ setup in my favor, and I'm probably going to get like an exponential 7-10% day. But as of right now, man, I'm just sticking to my guns. I'm trading very, very well. I'm not forcing any trades. I'm letting them all come to me, and I'm taking, you know, high probability setups and just kind of scalping them until I get something that I really, really, really like. So until I get something I like, I'm going to take these 2% days, you know, and compound my account, man. You know, as my account, you know, goes higher, 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 the 2% days get bigger, bigger, bigger. It's not like 2% day from whatever initial funds I had in the account. It's 2% on 2% of what as my account's growing. So let's say hypothetically you have a $30,000 account. It's 2% of that, and then let's say you had made like, you know, now you're up 35,000. I make it 2% of that, and as it keeps going up, you know, that's what's happening. So it's really compounding on my account. Of course, I have a bigger account than $35,000, but you know, that's what I've been essentially doing, and that is it, guys. Hope you guys enjoy, and that's all. Later.